Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We are on Love 99.5 FM. Affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on A1 Radio in Bolgatanga, ATL FM in Cape Coast, Radio Max in Takrady. We are live on Facebook. We are on X Spaces. We are on myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrol Sol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrol Sol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duro Plus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. We are the only water storage tank with a level indicator, and where Dura Plus goes, water always flows. This afternoon, while awaiting the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill to hit his desk, President Akufo-Addo has given the clearest indication about his position on the anti-gay bill, insisting the Supreme Court must rule on the matter first. This afternoon, we take you down memory lane on the varied comments made by President Akufo-Addo on LGBTQ activities.
I think that it is something that is bound to happen.
That it will not be under the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
At the end of the process, I will come in.
It would be as well for all of us to hold our hands and await the decision of the court.
We have details as the IMF defers comment on the bill and its impact on the country's program because it is yet to be signed into law. Meanwhile, Minister Designate for Tourism, Andrew Ejapamesa, says the passage of the bill will hurt the sector.
It definitely will have an impact, one way or the other. Some people who believe that lifestyle should be allowed everywhere may find Ghana not an attractive place.
Also this afternoon, my life and that of my children are in danger. Managing Director of Electricity Company of Ghana, as he describes as unfair the attacks on him.
Doing this job is not the easiest thing. To have your life being threatened, to have the life of your kids and all of that, putting it in limbo, it's not fair.
And as ECG works to ensure uninterrupted power supply, former Energy Minister says the challenge is far from over.
ECG is the weakest link in the value chain. It's the biggest headache in the energy sector, and it's a fact.
Also this afternoon, Youth and Sports Minister tells Parliament's government has fully paid $195 million to all contractors engaged to render services for the African Games.
The facilities earmarked for competitions and training venues during the Games have all been identified and are ready for hosting the respective discipline as indicated.
We have more from Parliament, where the Minister has been doubling down on claims that up to 2 billion people from around the world will be watching the Games, as well as insisting that Team Ghana is ready to compete. We have sports.
Ghana's boxing star Samuel Techi to battle Japan's Shion Nishiyama in Olympic qualifying bout.
And much later, Ghana at 67, and then all is set for the traditional parade at the Eastern Regional Capital, Koforidua.
Yesterday was our final rehearsal day with all the contingents on parade. And that aside, the ground where we're going to host this event is also ready.
You want to stay for that and more here on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apau. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. We settle for details now. Many thanks for your company. And while awaiting the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill to hit his desk, President Akufo-Addo has given the clearest indication about his position on the anti-gay bill, insisting the Supreme Court must rule on the matter first. Now, the past 4 years, we've seen President Akufo-Addo make varied comments on same-sex relationships, culminating in his penultimate position last night. But in line with the laws of the country, President Akufo-Addo will be faced with a test of making his final position known as to whether or not he will assent or dissent to the passage of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, which criminalizes activities of the homosexual community. Now, as the country awaits the legal stance of the president, we take a look back on the various pronouncements made by the president over the years. Listen.
I don't believe that in Ghana so far a sufficiently strong coalition has emerged, which is having that impact on public opinion that will say, change it. Let's then have a new paradigm in Ghana.
Is that something you would get behind?
I think that it is something that is bound to happen.
These were the words of President Akufo-Addo some 7 years ago when he told the international community in a televised interview that the legalization of same-sex activities was bound to happen. Thereafter, the president will soon realize that he was incurring the wrath of a large Christian majority in Ghana. To clear all doubts, the president told a congregation at St. Michael Anglican Church at Mampong in the eastern region that not under his watch will same-sex marriages be legalized.
I've said this before, and let me in conclusion stress again that it will not be under the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo that same-sex marriage will be legal. That same-sex marriage will be legalized in Ghana. It will never happen in my time as president.
And just when his critics had toned down after hearing these assurances, the president stoked another controversy when he made a pronouncement on the matter at a joint news conference with the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, who was paying a state visit to Ghana.
We don't have any such legislation here in Ghana. It hasn't been passed, so the statement that there is legislation in Ghana to that effect is not accurate. No legislation. Parliament is dealing with it. At the end of the process, I will come in.
But now, President Akufo-Addo is being tested more than ever. Parliament has indeed passed the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, and soon that document will be at his desk begging for a presidential assent. At a meeting with the diplomatic community last night, President Akufo-Addo said he will be guided by the Supreme Court on this matter.
But suffice it to say that I have learned that today a challenge has been mounted in the Supreme Court by a concerned citizen. It would be as well for all of us to hold our hands and await the decision of the court.
In spite of these alternating comments, the time will come and the president will have to make the ultimate decision as to whether or not he will give presidential assent to the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill.
That's a news desk report put together by head of our diplomatic affairs desk, Blessed Soga. Well, yesterday we've been seeing an internal memo from the finance ministry to the presidency on the impact of signing this particular bill into law and the fact that we're going to lose some $3.8 billion if indeed the president passes it. It's a possibility, it says. Meanwhile, we've been hearing from the International Monetary Fund and it says they cannot comment on the anti-LGBTQ bill and its impact on Ghana's program funding. Well, this was containing an email response to Joy Business editor George Wiafe, and he joins me in studio with details of what we are learning. George, you definitely wrote to the World Bank and also the IMF for their response on what is currently happening in Ghana. What do we know?
Well, for the fund, you've just echoed it over there that I think what we are trying to also establish that what would be the impact of this if Ghana goes ahead to sign this, as the Ministry of Finance sought to advise the president on the implications on Ghana's program. And the fund was saying that, well, they would only make a definitive statement if the country has gone ahead to sign this bill. In fact, if you look at Ghana's program with the fund, the funding from the IMF itself is a fraction of the total funding that would come to Ghana. And that is why it was critical to get that clarity from them. But from what they are saying, it appears that they can only give some indications about how it affects our program if you go ahead to sign. But they also sought in the email to explain that they for their policy, they are open to diversity and inclusion and all the rest. So as an institution's policy, it appears that they don't want anything that would discriminate against certain interest groups in the country. But also don't forget that in the past, the World Bank had giving some signals that they are against any country that sought to put some laws that would infringe on the rights of certain people in the country. And that is why we are worried about that, as in what could be the bank's response. We have also tried to engage them. They claim they are getting necessary clearance to respond to our issues about what will be the impact of this on our program and what we are expecting from the group in terms of funding for the country, even this year, whether those funds will come or not.
Okay, well, that's the Joy Business editor, George Riafe, there giving us details of that response from the IMF to his email seeking to ask the fund about what the impact will be on what exactly their position is on this particular LGBTQ bill. When it was passed, we saw a tweet from them indicating that they're actually watching the space, and George will put more of that on myjoyonline.com/business. Now, international relations expert Ishmael Hlovo says Ghana has become more aligned with the West and that President Akufo-Addo made the right call by saying the country will ensure the decision taking on the matter does not infringe on the rights of homosexuals.
Yeah, being president means that he doesn't have the free environment that some of us have, and we could make comments the way we are making. He has to be very tactical in some of the utterances that he makes, because we still need the international community in terms of carrying out his agenda. Here, even in Ghana, there are two issues of interest, of our national interest, that are conflicting with one another. One is the preservation of our cultural values, and two is the promotion of our economic interest. Now, when you look at it carefully, that we have pursued the goal of economic diplomacy for a very long time, particularly under the Fourth Republic. So we have always tried to make use of available international resources as much as possible to promote local economic development. Where our economy is now is not that independent to be able to withstand without some of the aid aid and assistance that the other nations give to us.
Well, the matter has just come up in Parliament, where the Minister-designate for Tourism, Andrew Ejapamesa, took his seat at the Appointments Committee, and he's been wading into the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, whether it should be signed or not. And my colleague James Aveji is there at the Public Accounts, is the Appointments Committee sitting, and joins us on the line with more on what we are learning. What exactly was his response to the question?
Yes, so that question was posed by a member of the committee, Honorable Patricia PAJ, and the minister designate thinks that if you look at the tourism sector, a chunk of the visitors or tourists come from the European countries or the international part. And so he believes that with an instance where most of the Western countries are against the bill, if the president assents to it, it may affect their patronage of Ghana's tourism sector. But fortunately, he's got some solution to the issue.
I mean, our culture is our culture, ultimately. And so if people want to experience our culture, it really matters whether we are opposed to a certain lifestyle within our cultural setting. But it all comes down to how you promote Ghana and position ourselves within the law, that is, if His Excellency the President assents to it. Okay, so I know it's the most topical subject matter now. Indeed, yesterday I was having conversations with my brother and some friends of mine at home, and it came up what your response would be when this question is posed to you. But I still haven't figured out an answer. But all I can say is that it definitely will have an impact.
That's Andrew Ejapamesa there. His vetting just ended, and Aveji, he's been talking about other issues. The matter of PDS also came up.
Exactly. So that was raised by the ranking member and the minority leader, Kesalato Forsen. First, he asked whether he has any role he played in the PDS issue. He noted that at the time, he was the director for one of the consortium who worked on the PDS deal. But at the time, even though he was the director of the consortium, he did not play any active role in the deal. He was also asked whether when he became a deputy minister, he played any role. He said the substantive minister did not give him any role to play. And so
I am not aware of any losses that Ghana made in respect of the PDS transaction.
Are you
I haven't
aware?
worked on it, so I wouldn't know.
Let me come back again
Very
on this
well.
matter. Are you aware that the U.S. government, through the Millennium Challenge account, decided to withdraw the millions of U.S. dollars they pledged to support the ECG in dealing with energy issues? And this amount was withheld as a result of the PDS issues.
I read it in the newspapers.
And were you worried about it?
Mr. Chairman,
Obviously, if the transaction had gone on, or the conditions had met, then government of Ghana, through the, believe the Millennium Compact, would have received that money per the reports that I read to help improve the sector. But the reports that I read also indicated that some conditions were not met, and so government terminated the transaction.
Tourism Minister designate Andrew Japamesa before the Appointments Committee earlier. We're told now that the Sanitation Minister designate Lydia Seyram Al-Hassan has taken her seat. And let's stay a while longer in Parliament. And Minister for Youth and Sports Yusuf Mohammed has told Parliament the government has fully paid $195 million, translating to more than 1 billion Ghana cedis to various contractors engaged to render services for the 13th Africa Games. Delivering a statement in Parliament, the minister did not provide a breakdown for the payment, but explains it's been used on construction of mainly the sporting infrastructure needed for the games.
For the games approved by this House, amounting to $195 million United States dollars, have been paid to all the contractors. Competition and training venues. The facilities earmarked for competitions and training venues during the games have all been identified and are ready for hosting the respective discipline as indicated in the table below. Mr. Speaker, for athletics, the University of Ghana is going to be where the competition is going to take place, and for training, we have the University of Ghana in Baltimore. For badminton, the multipurpose hall at Baltimore is where the competition will take place.
Well, he's also been doubling down on claims that up to 2 billion people will be watching the games across the world.
With over 5,000 athletes, 3,000 volunteers, 3,000 technical officials, that is medical doctors, physiotherapists, and other technical officials, 2,000 official guests. In addition, we are expecting over 2 billion spectators to participate via TV, radio, and other virtual platforms across the globe. Approval of the Games theme song. The theme song for the 13th African Games, titled Experience the African Dream, composed by 43-year-old Ghanaian musician and a songwriter Ebenezer Tracy, was approved by the Technical Committee for the African Games and subsequently launched by the local organizing committee on the 23rd December.
That's Minister for Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf there. Let's bring in correspondent Kweku Asante, monitoring events in Parliament for us. What else is happening in Parliament, Kweku?
Well, the State of the Nation Address debate is set to continue, and we also expect that the anti-gay bill issues will become such a big one on the floor. It has featured prominently in the Appointment Committee hearing. I've seen some judge confer with leadership. They say they want to make a certain statement to the president that he cannot take the stance that he is currently taking, and that they believe that he must follow the constitutional dictates and either sign the bill or write to Parliament declaring why he's not going to do so. So we expect that right after the State of the Nation Address debate scheduled for today, that matter will also come up quite heavily on the floor.
That's Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante there, giving us details of what's happening in Parliament so far. Now let's turn our attention to the energy front, and Managing Director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahama, has expressed his deep concerns about his role's impact on the safety and well-being of his family. Mr. Mahama, who has been at the helm of ECG, shed light on the difficulties he faces in managing the responsibilities of his position. He tells Evans Mensah on PM Express last night that his life has been threatened and the safety of his children and family jeopardized since assuming the role.
To also acknowledge the fact that CSOs are a very, very important institution in our growth, especially in terms of policy. But currently, with what is going on, I fear that the image of good companies are going to be dragged in the mud. What is being reported means that if they are saying it's 13, that means that Fidelity has breached the rules of Bank of Ghana and their license should be taken away. That's one. Two, I have suffered so much in trying to assist. When ECG started this digitization process, ECG was making around 450 million. As the Honorable Minister said, we are at 1 billion. It's still not enough. We've come a long way as a company. You again have people saying ECG is giving somebody 6%, 5%, 3%, when I have categorically said at the Public Accounts Committee that there is no contract in place. Nobody is giving anybody anything, but people have their own agendas. We are getting to a point in our country's life that waking up in the morning and brandishing things that are not true is not fair. I told you something. Doing this job is not the easiest thing. To have your life being threatened, to have your life of your kids and all of that, putting it in limbo, it's not fair. So
has that happened to you?
My brother, yes. And and you know, the funny thing is, it's always when it's about people complaining that somebody has taken some amount of money or something has been moved. It's not fair. Get the facts right.
Okay.
There are people's reputations at stake here. You just don't sit down and with the swing of a bat, just say what you've seen when you haven't even verified.
But fact still remains that ECG catchment areas, especially the capital Accra and Kumasi, have witnessed erratic power supply in the last few weeks. The situation has been blamed on technical and managerial challenges. Samuel Big Mahama tells Joy News he's still grappling with dealing with the overload of their transmitters during peak times.
Our challenge now is on the overloads in the localities. The level of overloads in the localities are growing at a very high rate. I keep telling you, our taste has also increased. And I say this all the time. Now we have personal homes that have elevators in them. The transformers we put in certain areas didn't envisage this kind of growth. So whenever people are enjoying certain amenities in their home, the whole load on the thing moves dramatically from an 80% to almost a 95%, where the whole thing trips. I appreciate the fact that if you listen to everybody carefully, everybody is saying the same thing. Now, facts are facts. Truth is truth. With WAPCO, as of January, we did not owe WAPCO. ECG did what it had to do. ECG and WAPCO have an understanding of a certain amount of money that they give to them on a monthly basis. As ECG stuck to its promise, yes.
Well, a former energy minister, Emmanuel Amakofibua, also on PM Express says, though there has been some stability, the problem has not been fully resolved.
ECG is the weakest link in the value chain. It's the biggest headache in the energy sector, and it's a fact. If you recall, what causes doomsday is not always one thing. It could be generational shortfall, the issue of fuel, and financial challenges in getting some of these things done. So it's always all these factors coming together to create doomsday. Today, as we speak, the reason we don't have a generational shortfall and say that we don't have doomsday in terms of generational shortfall is that the MD of ECG rushes to buy heavy fuel oil for AXA today. The only reason why AXA is operating is that ECG bought AXA heavy fuel oil to operate. Sometimes in the midst of crisis, we rush. But there are bigger issues, and those are the bigger issues that are confronting us.
That's former Energy Minister and Deputy Minority Leader Emmanuel Amakofibua. Meanwhile, the Executive Secretary of the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission, PURC, Dr. Ishmael Aka, has dismissed concern that the recent 6.56% electricity tariff reduction for certain customer groups will worsen the energy sector debt. My colleague Elton Brobe joins me in studio with what more we're learning from that PURC statement.
Also, according to them, PURC is conscious of the financial viability of all utilities and the well-being of the consumer. He explains that increases in tariff do not automatically lead to a decrease in energy sector debt or a short payment to IPPs. Instead, distribution companies must collect the approved tariff before any payment, according to him, can be made to the IPPs. And that's the statement he's put across.
Thank you very much, Elton Brobe. They're taking us on a quick break here on the Midday News, live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. Affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, made possible by Petrosol. Your clean fuel in full quantity Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duroplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. You've missed our walk down memory lane on the varied comments made by President Akufo-Addo on LGBTQ activities, as he gives the clearest indication about his position on the anti-gay bill, insisting the Supreme Court must rule on the matter. We return from the break with sports, and Ghana 67 and all is set for the traditional parade at the Eastern Regional Capital, Koforidua.
Yesterday was our final rehearsal day with all the contingents on parade, And that aside, the grounds where we're going to host this event is also ready.
Ago, mi hearing ya wawa tu, kemba gana nyon, ye joy. Akwabo.
Miyawezo.
Mama wana akwabo.
Barka da zuwan watan kasan Ghana a nan gidan Radio Joy.
Obenim busumi, eye Ghana busumi.
Miyawezo over Ghana Month Jilla Joy 99.7 FM.
Akwaba, eba Ghana Month on Joy.
Mimabe Akwaba, what Ghana siani lile yazo, what joy. We invite all of you to join us this March as we celebrate Ghana here on Joy 99.7 FM.
During this Ghana Month, you will be treated to our history, tourism, arts and culture,
our music, our food, language, beliefs, and all that makes us unique as a people.
Right here on Joy 99.7 FM. You'll also get to tell us stories about your region, town, or village and why we should make it a destination. Celebrating our uniqueness as a people.
Ghana Month on Joy FM.
Ghana Month on Joy.
Ghana Month on Joy.
Ghana Month on Joy.
Ghana Month on Joy. Joyously Ghanaian.
Ghana, we now have freedom.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a petrol source station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's do sports. Mubarak, what do we have?
Yes, MFA. So today, Ghana had a tough start at the Olympic boxing qualifier in Italy. And that's Anat Mohamed. She lost to her Romanian opponent, Loredana Marin, in the women's lightweight division. The defeat marks the elimination of 3 out of the 7 Ghanaian boxers from the competition. However, 2020 Olympic bronze medalist Samotechi has a chance to turn the tide as he goes up against Japan's Shio Nishiyama tonight. Now, the Boxing Federation media officer Jojo Efson has been speaking to Joy Sports.
Is Samuel Techi, who is fighting in the evening to crown off the day for Ghana's challenge for the day. Samuel Techi, as we know, have a reputation to protect. As Africa's only boxing medal winner at the last Olympics, he has set sight on going to the Olympics again in Paris 2024 to have an unfinished business by winning gold there. To win gold, you need to qualify. So starting against the Japanese opponent, you need to do everything that matters, for him to deliver, starting with the Japanese opponent and perhaps continue subsequently at the next stage. So we at the Federation are so confident and very, 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 very hopeful, making us proud by winning and winning very well today.
That's Ghana Boxing Federation media officer Jojo Efton. Back to you, MFA.
Thank you very much, Mubarak. And in our Ghana Man series, we explore the untold stories around the Asante traditional buildings. Clinton Yebwa has more.
In the quiet town of Besianse in the Ajoso traditional area, a deep history of rich culture and the ancient memorial is gradually getting buried in modernity. An aspect of the rich Ashanti culture which struck the early European visitors to this area was the distinct building style. All were impressed with the construction, with the design, the cleanliness and the comfort of these traditional courtyard houses, which they regarded as being well adapted to the particular climate and the particular condition of life in this area. We are here at the Besianse Shrine House in the Ajoso traditional area. The unique features of these buildings are embedded in their style, method of construction, traditional motifs, and rich colorization of walls and practice of traditional religion. Ironically, the only 10 buildings that have survived till today are shrine houses of some powerful deities who have interceded and protected the Asantes. Gerard Chiom, expert, heritage management of the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board, explains the environmental and climate significance of the building.
So there is a careful observation of the sun, the movement of the sun, and so on. So this architecture is very well adapted to the tropical environment in Africa.
This site at Bisiansi in the Joso traditional area houses the Yautano deity, which is profoundly revered in the Asante worship, a depiction of the traditional character of vernacular Asante's architecture.
That's Clinton Yabua with our Ghana Man series for today, and we are getting ready for our 67th independence anniversary, and all is set for us to gather at Koforidua, the Eastern Regional Capital, and Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara is a special guest at the event. MNJ, they are here. Tomorrow's holiday.
Yes, so
what's happening?
A lot is happening on Twitter. LGBTQ still trending, and Ghana Beyond Aid is trending. Because of the Finance Ministry's letter yesterday advising, the president. This one here says, Alaji Widon, it says, Ghana Beyond Aid is now scared LGBTQ will not give him $3 billion. Hey. And then Abdul Majid says, I remember when President Akufo-Addo said Ghana Beyond Aid, and my global political economy lecturer, Professor Jasper, will rant every day telling us why it wasn't going to happen. If it's still around, I'll go and give him his stone. Well,
MFA, so Meek Mill is back again in the trend. So this morning around 2 a.m., he shared a post on X. Yes, he wants to be a Ghanaian. So he says, I want to get a citizenship in Ghana. America made to tear black men down if you don't follow orders. So he's trending. But then this user commented and he says, let's do swap and wife or green card, no Benjamin Ghana card, plus 1,000 Ghana cedis.
And then Long Live Stonebwoy is also trending. Yeah, he was born on March 5, 1988, and this one is in Patois. So let me read it in Patois.
Hurry up.
It says, I don't want no love on Instagram. Just show me love in a heart. Don't like me upon Facebook. Porn and filter me upon Snapchat. You have to love me in a real life.
Yeah.
At this point, sign out for us in Patois. Can you? Okay. We're out of here. And that's how we wrap up today's edition. Happy holidays, okay? And that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more when you log on to my